We are speaking with the brand new Minister of Aboriginal Affairs, Mr. Keith Russell. Welcome to the show and congratulations on your new appointment, sir.
Thank you very much, Jonathan.
I did mention you in the preamble. I don't know if you're aware of that. And I know that Paddy was talking about it a little bit this morning. He was saying that, the issue of having an unelected minister is drawing attention away from a couple of big stories, and one of them being that you are now a minister because, and the relevance, of course, is that you are on record of saying that you don't buy into mumbo-jumbo with respect to sacred ground, specifically on the Muskrat Falls site. So, Minister Russell, I don't know if you want to talk about that, but if you do, we're welcome to it.
Absolutely, I want to talk about that, Jonathan. That's why I called in.
Great. My question to you is, the Minister of Aboriginal Affairs does a number of things with respect to policy and planning, and you represent the interjurisdictional working groups all across our province, and you also will relate with national Aboriginal organizations to advance the interests of all Aboriginal groups with land claims, with self-government, many other issues. And I know that Todd Russell has come out and said that he's willing to give you the benefit of the doubt. Of course, you did apologize publicly for offending Aboriginal groups, and he's willing to give you the benefit of the doubt. My question to you is, do you think, as a minister, when you go to federal, territorial, and provincial meetings, as well as those within Labrador and Newfoundland, the entire province, do you think that this will hang over your head, or do you think that this is a done deal?
Well, I'd like to see us put this to bed, to be honest with you, Jonathan. And I mean, I'm calling in here today to address any question you might have and to deal with, the issues that are brought out with callers like Ron you just had on there. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I can understand people's point of view, and I'm really glad, Jonathan, that you actually read out the exact quote, because my quote was made in reference to the walking trail down to the site that was there. And again, at the time, poor choice of words. I acknowledge that. I apologized if I had offended anybody. Since then, I have learned a lot about the site, about the heritage around that site. I myself grew up, 30 kilometers away from that site. It was not recognized to us. I mean, in our youth, that was where we hunted, fished, trapped up along that route. But I certainly did not mean to offend anybody by the statement, and by all accounts, I guess I have. And as a young person growing up in a large Aboriginal family, Jonathan, we were taught to give the utmost courtesy and respect to different sets of beliefs, to different Aboriginal groups. I have the utmost respect for Todd Russell and Nunatuavut, what they're trying to do. President Sarah Leo and Nunatsiavut, that land claim of which I'm a beneficiary myself, as well to the Innu leaders, both at the national level and those from Natwashish and Shehaji as well. I think it's in the best interest of everybody for people to understand that it was never my intention to insult anybody's heritage. And as Ron said earlier, if you'll just give me a moment, Jonathan.
Go for it.
It was not about a religion. It was not about any individual or any individual group's spirituality as a whole or in part. It was a misstep on my part, and I have to wear that. I have a great amount of pride in Labrador, our Aboriginal peoples, and where we're headed as a very important part of the province in terms of economic development, the opportunities, the land claims agreements that are being furthered, the benefits that are coming through partnerships and individual employment with our Aboriginal people. Mm-hmm. I'm so immensely proud and excited for us. And sometimes, as was referenced by Ron, I'm a passionate guy. And yes, I put my foot in my mouth before, and that's because I am so passionate. But that was a couple of years ago. I'd just like to say to everybody out there listening there, and everybody that's going to have to deal with me or my office in my new capacity, or anybody that's across Labrador and the island, that this statement is not representative of me, my family values, the way I was raised, or the respect that I have for the Aboriginal community across this great province. And I need to make that very clear. I
do appreciate the clarification. Frankly, if you are or are not a spiritual man, and Ron asked the same question, that's none of our business. You probably know this. I'm president of the Jewish community Havurah here, and if people ask me as to what my actual beliefs are, that's none of their damn business. But you're in a public position where you did make this statement, but you publicly apologized for it as well. And you're right, you were not referring to any sort of beliefs itself. You were referring to the beliefs around a particular piece of land. Now, some people might say that is splitting hairs, but with respect to what you did actually come out and apologize not only to the public of Newfoundland and Labrador, but to religious and spiritual leaders. It's not an issue to me as to whether or not you're a spiritual individual or not, but what is essential for all Canadians, as well as Newfoundlanders and Labradorians of all walks of life, my friend, is that we respect the beliefs of others, no matter what they are. If they are not harmful to anyone else, if they do not create a danger or pose a risk, they are to be respected and observed to the best of our ability, particularly if we are in government. One question I do have to you, I know that you are brand new in this portfolio. You may not be able to answer this, but I suspect you might.
Jonathan, before you proceed, I'd like to address Ron in the previous caller, just in one more capacity, if I may.
Certainly.
He referenced, I guess, the exchange in the House between Yvonne and I, our MP up in Labrador.
Right.
It's one of those situations where you're in the heat of the battle, in debate. I simply reached too far to try and have a dig at a very strong, a very competent politician who was much more senior than I at the time. This was a while ago too. And, I got myself into a circumstance where I had to apologize to the House, to the people at home. And I didn't have to do this, but I made it a point to go and to talk with some people in government who deal with people who need a little more, I wouldn't call it sensitivity training, but for somebody who needs to talk through something like this, I wasn't forced to do that. I did that on my own accord. I also made a point to address every female in the House of Assembly personally and offer my hand and offer my apology because at the time I was looking for a barb. I wasn't looking to insult a gender or an individual to the point where I made them uncomfortable. That's not the type of man I am. That's not the way the women in my life have raised me to be. And I reference my aunts, my mom, my grandmothers, and that's not what I'm all about. I just wanted to clear that up with Ron just to let him know. And if Ron wants to talk to me in person, I'll make that happen. It's important to me that, the media takes issues and they run with it sometimes. And I can appreciate a good story, and I know that there's always a little value in some of the more controversial issues put out there. Mm-hmm. But it's important to me that people, especially Aboriginal people, women around this province, they understand that's not what I'm about. You can ask anybody who knows me, anybody who has been part of any volunteer organizations I've given my time to. Am I sometimes controversial, and do I have a little fire in the belly? Absolutely. Have I made mistakes? Absolutely. Have I apologized and atoned for some of those? To the best of my ability. It's not what I'm about. What I'm asking people, and the reason why I came to speak to you today, Jonathan, is to address people like Ron and let them know that there's much more to me. There's much more depth than a few barbs here and there and a few foot in the mouth moments, as you may have put it earlier. What I need people to know is that I'm ready, willing, and able, and I give the Premier thanks for having faith in me. He knows me much better than I guess the average citizen would. I want people to know that I'm committed to this portfolio. I'm committed to Aboriginal pride at a national level. I'm committed to Labradorian pride and everything that comes with our culture and our heritage, and to Halapu and
Mi'kmaq.
And yes, on the island, I'm committed to meeting these leaders if they want to address this stuff in person. And just today, Jonathan, President Leo and Todd Russell himself came out on CBC and said, well, more or less, things happened. Water's under the bridge. They know the importance of working together with us in a very mutually beneficial relationship from this point forward in order to further the cause of Aboriginal peoples, whether it be housing, transportation, employment with these mega projects we're going to see that are coming in our future and that are here today. They need to know that I'm going to sit there and address their concerns, and these will be positive, beneficial relationships, and that I'm humbled to be in the portfolio, and I'm just an average guy. I'm a guy who makes mistakes from time to time. When I do, as I teach my own children, Jonathan, when you mess up, you got to own it. You got to do what's right, whether that's an apology or make it up to somebody in another way. Whatever it takes, you got to make things right.
That is indeed a very valuable lesson, not only for your children, but for all of us. And Minister, the fact that you did that and you stood by your words after speaking others, I think, pardon the pun, speaks volumes. And I will be reaching out to you personally in the weeks to come. I'm putting together a program for high schools and grade schools here in the province where, certain individuals can give speeches, if possible, to classes and general assemblies to discuss the power of words and how words can hurt and how important it is to reverse any possible damage that you have done. So you will be getting a call from me, and I hope you will welcome it.
I'd be more than happy to help out anywhere I can, Jonathan. And I tell you what, if someone, and I'm not that old. I guess I'm coming towards 40 here now.
Youngster,
I guess. But the bottom line here is if you can just acknowledge the fact that, things that you've done or said weren't perfect, and you can try to do your very best to make it right, and you can at least reach out to as many people as possible and let them know who you are, what you're all about, you're on the right path to making amends. And for me, like if there's ever an opportunity for me to speak to youth, I do it at home. I do it anywhere I'm asked because, I've come from a very unique background. I have wonderful pride in my father's Newfoundland heritage and wonderful pride in my mother's Inuit heritage in Labrador. And the lessons learned, I've had some ups and downs in my life, my career, my school, everything. I've certainly, I've taken away from all of those experiences. I've taken away personal growth. I've taken away valuable lessons, not only in business and in politics and in life, but just how to deal with people in general. And again, people need to know that nobody's perfect. And when you do mess up, there is a road back to make things right.
Yes, there is a road back, no matter how long or hard it is. And it's good to see that you're on. And thank you for bringing that to light. Minister Russell, last question. I don't know if you can answer today, but maybe in the future. Going back to the comment about, you said that the particular trail leading to the Muskrat Falls site as being or not being sacred ground. My question, when I initially heard that, now I'm in a position to ask this, is did government consult all Aboriginal groups within Labrador with respect to the spiritual significance of all of the parcels of land that would be turned into a resource for the province?
Well, consultation was definitely had with all groups. Now, in terms of the spiritual significance, that's something, with the various groups, that's something I would have to look into. But I myself, in a very short time, have learned so many lessons, particularly from the Innu people, about the legends, the myths, the stories. I did not know at the time I made these comments that site was the very last site of the shaking tent ceremony. That was brought to me by a friend that I grew up with. He actually played bass in a band I was in as kids.
No kidding.
I had no idea. And this, I found, not only did my comments maybe, affect in a negative way a lot of people out there with Aboriginal spiritual beliefs, and I again apologize for that, but I had an Innu friend of mine who I played in a band with and who was my very good friend growing up as teenagers, really upset at me. And that's where it hit me right in the heart, that I did not take into consideration all of the various possibilities, whether known to me or not, that could have existed with the heritage of that site and the peoples in Labrador. And if a young, homegrown Aboriginal boy from Goose Bay can make that mistake, we have to be ultra careful as we proceed in a government to make sure that we don't duplicate a similar error when dealing with Aboriginal groups, Aboriginal peoples, whether it's spirituality, heritage, culture, or bloodlines themselves. We have to be ultra careful.
Okay. Well, thank you for answering that. I think we need to maybe explore that a bit deeper in a future conversation. So I'll reach out to you in the days to come, Minister. In the meantime, enjoy day 2 of your new portfolio, and thanks for being so candid with us on air. Much appreciated. Have yourself a good afternoon.
No problem. You too, Jonathan. Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, folks, what do you think about that? Minister Russell was certainly open and provided a lot of commentary on his previous commentary.